So we have kind of the parasites, the Lyme stuff. We mentioned these as being kind of bigger issues on the detoxification side that can kind of bottleneck a lot of the mold detoxification. When you test for urinary mold metabolites, for instance, do you try to make sure the detoxification pathways are working a little bit so you can actually get some mycotoxins in the urine, or do you do it without any type of glutathione or N-acetylcysteine challenge? How do you assess that?
So I like actually doing it both ways. I typically do it with no assistance whatsoever at the start because if I test your body for a urine test for mold and I get mold positive on the test and you're doing nothing to detox at all, then it gives me a hint that you're probably in the environment still.
Right, that makes sense.
If I test you when you're doing a detoxification protocol or push or provocation and it comes out, then I don't know if it's now or if it was in the past. And I have no frame of reference on that because if I'm doing glutathione push, then it could be 20 years old. And I just don't know that information. So for me, it's more important to make sure again that we're in a safe place today because if you're at a safe place today, then I have a good chance of getting your well. If you're not in a safe place today, then I got to get you to one.
Would you ever want to just test the home first before you do a urinary mold test to see if there's anything positive where they're at now first?
If I have any if they suspect, if they show me a picture of, hey, look back here on the wall, does this look like mold? And I'm like, yeah, it looks like mold. Okay, let's just run the test on the home. It's actually less expensive anyway.
Right.
But if they're like, I have no idea, I don't see any mold anywhere, I don't smell any mold anywhere. But I see that their albumin level is high in their blood work, that their methylation toxic exposure marker in their oat is
Yep.
elevated. I
Yep.
see their oxalates elevated. I'm like, I think you probably have mold. Let's do some further investigation on your body through a urine test, and then from there, the home test.
What about colonized mold? Like on the organic acid test, you may see like Fusobacterium or Aspergillus organic acids markers really high. Is that just more from yeast in the gut that's kind of just colonized there and that's producing a lot of those metabolites? Is that just addressing the gut issues?
That's not how I'm reading it because I've had so many people that have gone through practitioners that have done anti-yeast diets. They've done the oreganoes and caprylic acids. They've done diflucan and nystatins, and they still have those markers elevated in their body. Um, so I have not found that those organic acid test markers mean candida yeast. I have found them more to mean mold toxicity. And then I confirm it through running a urine test and then a home test.
Right. So that mold's colonized in the gut. So that the environmental mold in the home is also affecting the gut. So you're trying to hit it from both sides either way, right? You're trying to fix the gut as well as the environment
Mhm.
still.
Absolutely. So you get the environment well, but while you're getting the environment well, you're going back in and cleaning out the mold, the yeast, and likely the bacteria and parasites. Because
Yep.
if you get Aspergillus, Fusarium, Stachybotrys in your body, it suppresses your immune system and it allows every other organism you come into contact with to start to colonize your body also. So it's
Right.
never just that one thing. So if you've got those positive on your oat test, I'm just going to automatically, until proven otherwise, which we'll run the tests, assume that you're going to have these other organisms. And I'm just going to start
Correct.
cleaning, healing, and sealing the gut while making sure that you're getting into a safe environment, rebuilding your mitochondria and your mineral content. Because most likely, when you deal with somebody with mold, they're going to become electrolyte deficient because their body's so stressed out from the mold that they just constantly are urinating out all their good stuff.
Makes sense. And so when do you switch gears and go after Lyme? Because I find, I haven't been doing this for over a decade, decade and a half. I've seen so many patients that come in and they've gone through the Lyme wheelhouse where they've just seen so many doctors and they're like Lyme, Lyme, Lyme. They put them on tons of, antibiotic protocols or tons of Lyme killing, and they don't really get better. When do you prioritize Lyme? I still find that I try to address everything else hormonally, gut, detoxification stuff. And I deal with that stuff later on because I find a lot of times, like you mentioned, when the immune system gets better and stronger, those things kind of tend to take care of themselves.
Mhm.
But I'll still kind of create specific protocols. When do you go after that specifically?
So Lyme would probably fall to my third to fourth most important piece. So say you have everything that I've mentioned on this podcast, right? You've
Right.
got parasites, gut bacteria, yeast, Lyme, mold, radioactive elements, heavy metals. I would probably go parasite. So assuming we're in a safe place,
Right.
trauma aside, we have parasites, GI bacteria,
Hmm.
and then I'm going to go to systemic bodily bacteria, which would include Lyme disease right there. So that's about third. And then I'm going to go from there to mycoplasma and then into mold. So those would be my first 5 that I'd be going after.